Hello, back again. Had to kind of had to do adjustment on some video. Um, recently, I made a video a while back about housing discrimination, and it was about these older couples getting advice, and it was on like Nightline. Well, I have from Dr. Phil. This subject has popped up again. And I'm gonna show you the two videos, and I'm gonna make my comment afterwards. But just try to let you listen to it, the audio.
Added to some of this as well, appraisal issues that a couple of your guests have talked about. 97% of all appraisers are white. 97%. You wonder why there's an issue with appraisals. So I think we have to change it from within, and I think education is a really strong part of it. I think that'll help quite a bit. I know there's been restrictive covenants. I don't know if we'll be talking about that next, but that's restrictive covenants in Los Angeles, California, and throughout the country are basically recorded documents that are put on almost every property saying if you're not of Caucasian race, you cannot purchase that property, you can't sell it to someone, and you cannot purchase it. And those are recorded documents that are in most properties in Los Angeles and California and throughout the country. And there's ways to do redacted documents to get rid of that, which a law was just passed in California September of last year.
So what jumped out at you the most when you reviewed this?
We reviewed 100 different what we call match tests. And about half of those were black-white, some of them were Latino-white, some of them were Asian-white. And all we could do is say, do we find evidence of discrimination? As the attorney for one of the realtor agents said, we'd like our chance to explain that. But on the surface of the tapes, as a result of our conclusions, Newsday found that about 50% of the tests involving blacks and whites showed some form of discrimination. In those three forms, there were really three main forms. One was, and you touched on this earlier, inferior service. I'm not going to show you listings unless you are pre-qualified, told to black testers, not told to white testers. Another was the steering. You said we were going to talk about steering. These testers came in and asked for exactly the same type of house. They were trained to ask for the same type of house. Steering is where the minority testers are sent to heavily minority areas, given listings in those areas. Whites are in other areas, and that one particular tester was wiping away a tear. She didn't find out until she compared her experience with the white tester that her hometown that had minorities in it was being undersold by some realtors. There was also the idea of you can't get mortgage help if you don't do certain things as a minority that we're not requiring of whites. I will say that of the tests we reviewed, there were quite a number of realtors who did exactly the right thing. We keep talking about the 1968 Fair Housing Act. So 50 years later, virtually my entire career, there's still discrimination out there.
And Keisha, that's what I'm talking about. You had to give up a $575,000 home that you acquired at the age of 21 that could still be building value now. And Bob, this steering, they were walking in and people telling them, no, we have not one, not one house to show you.
Often what would happen in the tests that Newsday ran a couple of years ago was a little less blatant than 1964, but that's not saying much. What often happened is the minority tester was given listings, but they were substantially in communities that were heavily minority. And they weren't given listings elsewhere. And one of the points, I think, in addition to the lack of generational wealth that you touched on, which is terrifically important, by the way, but where you live also determines where your children go to school. It determines their and your ability to get jobs, where you vote, the integration of the schools, a tremendous amount of things. And then a number of your guests, rightfully so, when they find out they've been discriminated against, this is an outrage. This is emotionally troublesome. I had a number of clients earlier in my career where we had to prove that they case, for example, you don't have financial differences much, so the damages are almost all emotional, but you can prove that. They lose sleep, their relationships with their family deteriorate, something you know, Phil, more than I do, but it's real, and it's very unfortunate.
He says not only is real estate bias bad for health, but it's also a correlation between poor physical health and mental health and the socioeconomic, racial, and ethnic composition of the neighborhood you live in. Explain what you mean, Doctor.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. But Doc, what I would say is the hopelessness that is incurred by this real estate bias produces a struggle in the mental wellness of African Americans. So not only am I struggling from the lack and the opportunity for generational wealth and the handoff, but now I'm struggling with my own wellness, and I may well hand that struggle off to the generations that come behind me. So finding ways in which to address these issues in a manner that is fitting our mental wellness struggles is really important. I think one of the struggles that we have in this country around the issue of race is that we have yet to have a truth and reconciliation conversation. So if you go to South Africa and talk about issues, they'll tell you about apartheid. They'll tell you the story and the struggles of apartheid and the ills of that process. In this country, we won't really do that. We want to move to reconciliation without having truth telling. So if we also, one of the things that I'll add is that we have a lack of understanding and contextualizing race. What we'll do in this country is decontextualize race. We'll move and pull context away because it's easier to explain things away, right? But if we add context to the conversation, it draws and asks for more information and deeper understanding. So for instance, as we watched George Floyd be murdered on the streets of my city in Minneapolis, white folks saw that as being a very bad thing. That was negative. But it was an incident. It was a unique, isolated thing that they watched. But as we, in the black community, watched that, we saw 400 years of history on that moment. So when we talk about real estate bias and all these biases that we struggle with, there's a long and storied history of that struggle and a question that begs what will we do to move through it.
So it's more than just the house. It goes into the whole quality of life.
When you call the medics, how fast do they come?
Yeah.
And it's an environmental justice issue as well. There's a community in Houston called Cashmere Gardens, which sits in a toxic dump area. There's nothing but black folks that live in that area, and they've been living there for generations.
Yeah.
Grandmothers, their kids, their grandchildren, they've all developed the toxic results of living in a dump, and they're all generating cancer at an alarming level. And I think that's one of the issues that Bob is talking about, the residual effects of housing discrimination generation after generation.
That's why we're here today. I mean, when good men hold their peace, evil men have their way. We went there that day. That was our second showing. We strategically moved our resources around to be able to go and execute this transaction. We went there to purchase not one, not two, but 3 units cash. And we were denied. And that's generational wealth. Now, we raise our children that we'll go down with it, but we're going to lay down with it. We're going to go down with a fight.
Doc, let me hit the concept that I think we should also be engaging in when we talk about bias. Think bias, especially implicit, unconscious things that we're not really clear on, but we're doing. We can be incongruent with our actions and our thoughts. So, for instance, I can say, hey, I am a supporter of the gender movement. I think women need this, that, and the other. I can profess that on a conscious level. But subconsciously, I can have actions that don't coincide with that. So oftentimes, a real estate agent can be saying, no, we want to make sure that we take care of the communities of color, but their actions may not coincide. It becomes incongruent. They don't fit together. So that recognition and awareness is critical. So conversations like this, Doctor, are critically important for the national, societal level of understanding, so we can move towards and into a space
they're fearful. But see, fear is the inability to control your own thoughts. And so you have to be able to control your own thoughts so that you can have control over your own actions and you can do what's right, because they have institutions and they have powerful people behind them that can actually help and assist in these types of things that are happening. You know, you've got Texas Real Estate Commission in our state. You've got National Association of Realtors. These are organizations that are there for a reason.
You know, I'm here to learn. I sit up here and I'm kind of the traffic cop in these things sometimes, but I'm here to learn. And Astra Austin is one of my co-executive producers and has been here at Dr. Phil for the whole journey. She brought this topic to my attention and was pivotal behind the scenes
It was a black woman
starting this
that
conversation.
brought this up.
And you know, I thank her for bringing this to a point, and I hope we can continue this conversation. You know, we're out of time for today, but I think we've really covered a lot of things today, and I really appreciate everybody coming here and being willing to talk about it. And I hope it is thought-provoking to everybody, and I hope when all of you, when you choose a realtor, you ask them questions. Make sure they conduct themselves in a way that you're proud of. And I've always said, I think we just at a fundamental level, we need to treat ourselves and each other with dignity and respect. And I think that's one of the things that's wrong with our society today beyond this issue. I think it's the reason there's divisiveness in this country right now, the reason we're not willing to listen to each other. It's a fundamental value. We need to treat ourselves and others with dignity and respect. And when you do that, there's no room for this kind of thing. Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in.
That's nice, but some people, they don't believe in that, Dr. Phil. They don't believe in that, unfortunately. And there's some people that get the power. They want to do what they want to do, but here's another segment covering it. This is a short one. It's something. It made it a Dr. Phil show. That's why I came and recorded the video and let you hear the audio on it, kind of glimpse out what the people look like.
If you work on commissions or you're an independent contractor and you're paying a lot of taxes,
I got a lot to say after this one.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, Black Americans intentionally discriminated against at every step of the home buying process.
The value of my home is not indicative on the color of my skin.
Bias in real estate. You guys told this agent we're prepared to pay cash.
Yes, we were still denied.
We were blocked that day.
74% of white Americans now own their home versus just 44% of black Americans. Now, there's a problem somewhere here. And instead of being defensive, we need to start being part of the solution. Let's treat ourselves and others with dignity and respect. Let's not just be quiet so others can remain comfortable. What I'm talking about here, as I said before, is how would you feel if you could not buy a home or keep the home you own because of what you look like? My first guest, Keisha, says after her grandfather Daniel passed away in 2020, she inherited his home in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood in Seattle. She says what happened next was heartbreaking and alarming. What do you think was the most transparent, racially motivated attempt to exploit you?
Yeah, there were, when my grandpa passed away, there were letters that came immediately after he passed away. And to be in an area of Seattle where these are black families used to, they're not anymore. The letters were very clear, like, we don't want you here. There was one in particular that was just heartbreaking. And then going to apply for a loan and realizing that, hey, to get an appraisal, one of the requests is either don't let them in or don't let them know whose house it is and what type of family lives there, the pictures that look like you, and understanding what I know being educated, that means we need you to not show that this is a black home, because a black home is going to be valued less. The value of my home is not indicative on the color of my skin.
But the truth is, we have empirical evidence as well as anecdotal case studies that show exactly that. If you hide the fact that this is a black-owned home, the appraisal is likely to be higher than if you don't hide that fact, which is a sad chronicle of affairs. How many times did you try to get loans to renovate that home?
Oh my God, I would say probably 12. And I've been a homeowner since I was 21 years old. So this is not new to home ownership. I understood what costs were going to be needed and went to the bank, had all my papers. I'm a full-time entrepreneur, but I'm very good on my accounting and things. Denied, 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 denied. And this house is paid off, so there's no mortgage, it's just full equity. And I'm like, to not be able to tap the equity, what's going on here? I barely had any debt. I should have been a perfect candidate for
Perfect candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a great credit score.
I'm so proud of it. 820, like what the heck? So
Yeah, you should be proud of that. And you are entrepreneurial. You own a home. You have no mortgage. You've got this home, which is free. You have all of the collateral in the world, and you're not asking for an exorbitant amount to renovate the home, but you keep getting no.
Yeah.
But what explanation did they give you?
Yeah, so, they can say, oh, we're talking debt to income. And I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. And when I ask for further explanation, we just go off of the computers. And then I'm like, okay, so if you're going off a computer, but you're not looking at the hard facts, something's not adding up.
James and myself have been licensed real estate brokers for more than a decade. On August 20th, 2022, we went to purchase 3 condominium units.
This agent wasn't excited about showing us at all. She hit us with so many irrelevant questions. Where are you from? How'd you find this place?
The most flagrant violations occurred when we went to discuss the terms of the contract. First comment the agent makes was that FHA financing was not available. We informed her that we were going to pay cash for all 3 condominiums.
She stated that she wouldn't sell to us because she had planned to convert the community to a 55 and over community.
This one is not 55 plus.
It's not an active adult community yet, but later it will be turned into.
So you refuse to sell to us because we're not 55 or older? She responded, no, I'm not going to sell to you because my gut feeling tells me that we wouldn't get along with you people.
No, it's not that. I think probably
This was an Asian American woman that said this too.
Why do you think we won't be able to get along with one another? I've never experienced anything like that.
We were flabbergasted.
We knew that we were being discriminated towards. We filed a federal lawsuit.
I've been black all of my life, and I'm very aware of systematic racism, but I've never had anyone blatantly deny me of my civil liberties just solely based off the color of my skin. Real estate is a very necessary tool to have the American dream.
We're not going to allow this to just pass us by and not do anything about it.
I'll pause right here because commercial. I'm going to show you something. How long has this been going on? And it's been going on for decades. The Washington Post recorded this. That goes back different cities like back in 1910 when it started. And we're talking about Baltimore, New York. There's housing discrimination. And this gives you the whole list of it. If you pull up the Washington Post, and it gives you more about more detail about how it ran in the 20th century, and it's really really eye-opening. And that's why I said there ain't no such thing as black privilege. Black people don't have privilege. Black people are patriotic, hard-working Americans that put in due. But the media paints a stereotype over black people, and I believe that's one of the reasons they discriminate.
You've been listening to what Keisha and I have been talking about. You guys even told this agent, we're prepared to pay cash for these units. So if you're concerned about any of that, don't be. You took every obstacle off the table, correct?
Correct.
And still, you just got stonewalled.
Yes, was still denied. It didn't matter to her if we had the financial means or resources. She just did not want to sell to me.
And was it hard to wrap your head around that?
She felt she denied us, but in my opinion, we were delayed because we're still fighting towards accomplishing our goals. We're not. She doesn't have the power to say forever. She just had the power to say not that day, and that's the reason why we filed a federal lawsuit. She stated in the video that her gut feeling tells her that she would get along with us. Well, we're gonna see about the gut, and we'll see about it in court as well.
You said if this is about the price, we're prepared to pay the price. So we're not even going to argue with you about the price.
Correct.
We're good with the number.
All we wanted to do was negotiate the number a little bit lower because we felt that the price per square footage was just a tad bit high at the moment. They're a fairly new condominium development. We wanted to negotiate it just a little bit lower than what they were asking, and she flat out said, I don't negotiate.
I'd like to add James and Misty's civil rights attorney, Justin Moore, to the conversation. Justin, what do you think about this?
Well, I think this real estate agent caught her dead to rights. She had this circulation, this ad circulating throughout the community, specifically trying to sell this property to people from a specific community. And we know that that is a pure violation of the Fair Housing Act. And the fact that the Rob Maris went into that complex that day with money ready to buy, and this woman drugged them through the ring. First, she refused to negotiate, which we know when you refuse to negotiate on the basis of race, color, nationality, sex, religion, familial status, and disability, we know that that is a clear violation of the Fair Housing Act. We know that she violated that. Then she proceeded to say that she had this age, issue that she wanted to project in order to say that these two folks did not meet the age requirement. There's some dubious number of 55 years and older, which wasn't in place at the time. And ultimately, when they said, "Hey, we have money to buy now," all these hoops you're having us jump through is really unnecessary. She said in her gut she did not feel like she would get along with this couple. We're actively going to fight against that and make sure not only that the Rob Mars get what they're looking for, but that this woman loses her ability to do this to other folks in that community.
Well, this Fair Housing Act that you've been talking about passed in 1968.
Right.
So here we are over 50 years later, and still this is going on. And this is not an isolated situation where we found one rogue agent doing this. Sadly, that's not the case. This agent who represented herself as being with Remax.
Yes, sir. Remax and EXP.
Well, we have a statement from Remax that says we can confirm that Josie Lynn left Remax as of December 2021 and had no affiliation with the Remax brand in any way at the time of this alleged occurrence. Any use by Ms. Lynn of any Remax branded materials after her departure from Remax is impermissible and unauthorized. Remax is committed to supporting home ownership dreams of everyone equally, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, nationality, disability, gender, sexual orientation, or family status. So they apparently have a copy of the Fair Housing Act and are dedicated to that or going public with saying that.
So they say, and we haven't received their answer to our lawsuit yet. Once they put that answer in writing and we're able to litigate that, we're going to see how committed they are to what they put in the statement. That company is large enough to know someone is illegally using their content to discriminate.
So you say they either knew or should have known.
Or they should have known.
That
Which is
was
the
going
negligence
on.
standard, right?
Here is a statement while the Ramaris have chosen to literally market their version of their interaction with Ms. Lynn to every media outlet, I urge caution in giving any credence to the Ramaris'
This
fictional
happened in New
account.
York.
When people move with breakneck speed to get in front of a camera, as the Ramaris have, to accuse another person of racial discrimination, media should approach such claims with extreme carefulness. In Ms. Lynn's case, when the unvarnished truth is told, it will be crystal clear that she did not discriminate against the Ramaris based on their race or ethnicity. Ms. Lynn is a person of color herself. She is a Chinese immigrant who came to America to work hard. She is cognizant of and devoted
Person
to
of color.
treating all people with respect and dignity, irrespective of race or ethnicity.
I get no benefit out of lying on anyone.
And see, here's the thing: is that when you're silent about your pain, people will kill you and say you enjoy it. And so, what are we supposed to do? Just be silent?
She's a Chinese
We were
Chinese American.
completely discriminated against. We were disrespected, and she underestimated us. She violated us. And what we do, of course, my wife and I, if you violate, we demonstrate. And that's the reason why we filed a federal lawsuit.
Dr.
Yes.
Can I jump in?
Yes, please.
So that statement is very cute, right? But we've detailed brick by brick, element by element, everything that she violated in the Fair Housing Act. And we have this ad that she put out into the community, which is a clear violation. But you see that statement did not even address that. We have material evidence that this woman is discriminating against folks that aren't Asian. And we have video evidence that she discriminated against these two people right here.
Yeah, we need video.
Right.
Video's necessary because we know as Black people, you need video sometimes.
But wait, we have this long striding legacy of racism in this country. We have this huge legacy of Jim Crow still permeating within this country today. It's based on fictional statements. That's why we're filing this lawsuit, because of statements like that.
It has to stop. That type of ideology and dogma has no place in the United States, but less in the world. That was the first time that we had ever heard that statement, and it continues to baffle me how she tries to perpetuate that she did nothing wrong.
I record too, because when you're moving money as a person of color, they don't trust what you're doing, and we know sometimes you need to have proof to prove your validity, because these things happen, and it's so easy to say, oh, they're just pulling the race card. They're just pulling the race card.
Yeah,
It's like,
I don't think being poor, I don't think the word poor and Black should be synonymous.
yeah.
You should let your judgment lie still. That way you don't have to suffer. Because that's what's going to happen. She's going to suffer during this federal lawsuit.
Well, we're out of time today. We've only started to scratch the surface with this controversial topic. So tune in tomorrow when we take a look at alleged racial discrimination caught on tape. And it's hard for many people to wrap their brain around real estate bias happening nowadays. But we'll talk more about the footage from the undercover investigation by Long Island Newsday that pulled the veil way back and exposed the ugly truth that most of us just don't want to admit still exists in this day and time. Here's what's going down tomorrow. Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, real estate bias.
A seller will say, tell me about the buyers. I said, oh, they're a great couple. And they said, well, what's their nationality?
Exposed.
Recorded documents that are put on almost every property saying if you're not of Caucasian race, you cannot purchase that property.
It's disgusting.
Beyond disgusting. This cannot be tolerated because it's very true.
We're going to go down with a fight.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link.
So, I have a question for people that think that Black people just cry race, that talk about race, that we just hallucinating. Now you heard from people that were non-Black who were this man right here, this man right here, telling you about that. It ain't just the Black people. It ain't just the Black people. They backing up what they're saying, and then they got the evidence. And this is the attorney right here. And and it's really something because Asian Americans, like Japanese and Chinese, They were discriminated when they came over here in parts of California in early part of the century. There's a documentary on how the way they were discriminated. People that was from Japan and China, and there's some people even from that I believe that was Vietnamese that was discriminated against. And that's something how somebody who like Miss Lynn, who was Asian, is discriminated against another group. But it's like what happened out there with the LA council with the councilwoman. You know the big story about what she said about the one councilman's biracial child, that because he was acting up and she called him a little monkey. She was of Hispanic origin. And then she was in the other room with these other ones who were Hispanic American that was sitting around agreeing with it. She resigned and the guy resigned, but there's one guy, De Leon, is still holding on. And they and he knew that there had to be someone that when it comes to contracts, make sure that these other groups of people don't get it. This is what that was her main goal. Some people are not on people of color. We all equal. We all the same. When it comes in this country, they're not. They're not all the same. And it sounds like they have done quite a bit. And black people, and it's just crazy, man. And these are not your typical black people that's gonna have people around who commit crime or doing something that live in the hood. These are working class black people, middle class black entrepreneurs. That's another thing that's stuck out. Should stuck out to people. So even when you're entrepreneur and you have the money, you still get discriminated against. Ain't that something? Them couples worked hard, and I did another on my page talking about, it was on the main news station, how the price appraisal on, it was some older couples. They was in their 60s and 70s. The one guy was in his 60s, black guy was in, he was like a professor, and she was like something next to it, some high position. They got discriminated against. Here we are in the 21st century, and there are people picking who they want around, and they think they can legally get around the system, the Fair Housing Act, and try to slide up under and violate a right. And number two, I think ever since Biden signed that bill for some people who are Asian American, they got kind of cocky. So he just gave it to them. Now I don't think it's not all Asian Americans, but there's some that have had, because when that Asian discrimination bill, because they would get Asian hate attack. And black people have always supported the Asian community, certain Asian communities, as far as the hair salons, nail salons, and products. But the same people don't want you, some different individuals in the community don't want you to live next door to them. But yet, they want your dollar. And black people give them their dollar. And people like Josie Lynn. And there's a private group of people that get, and make sure that they don't move up in here. This stuff been going on in other parts of the United States. This is something ain't just in California or Seattle. And it's in New York. It was in Washington, D.C., Baltimore, probably Philadelphia, in other cities too. And guess what? One thing about the cities, these supposed to be Democrat cities that we all are for the people, all Democrat, and they need the black vote. So they need the black vote because they get this just hoping that, and they can slide up under, and just long as you playing their part, they're okay. So is it fair? And it's right. That's wrong on so many different levels. You can't have a place where it's just reserved for you. You can't do that. And what it is that America want to keep black people down. There's certain segments of America, certain segments, I say. But I've seen guys online who own properties here, black Americans, and they sold their properties here, and they living overseas, and they don't have to deal with this stuff, and they get treated with much respect without going through all the politics. One guy is called Go Black, Go Black. That's what he did. Taylor Made Dreams. That's what he did. They got tired dealing with that. Probably got tired dealing with that mess. Dealing with the politics of someone, probably their property and things and upkeep and all that. It's just ridiculous. And I hope that black people get reparations. I really do. And when you do, support your own. That's one of the reasons why you should support your own. And have your own, and we can live together as a class of people. So people choose to want to live around us, that's fine. But the ones that don't, they need to go on here. And that's how I feel. It doesn't make no sense for someone in the 2022 to have that mindset. But see, that's the undercover racism people don't like to talk about. They don't want to talk about it. They want to just sweep under the rug. Them blacks are just crying about it till someone pulled it up. And it was a producer at Dr. Phil, so they had to shine a spotlight on it. Because every time when somebody black points something out, they playing a race card, and you heard it from the man himself. They put it in the paperwork because they think black people don't read. They still think that no matter how college educated you are, black people are inferior intellectually, not smart. That they won't figure it out. This is and no matter how hard you prove yourself to be the smart, intelligent black man or black woman, they still think that they're better than you. Ain't that something? You work just as hard. You went to college. Some people was in the military, black veterans, just like any other veterans, and they can't even get a doggone. They can't get a doggone loan. Can't get appraised over the house. Being patriotic. And the Biden administration, they don't give a shit. Obama, he wouldn't give a shit. They rewarded him. They used him. And they used all the black caucus. Your black caucus, they ain't saying anything about it. They scared. Where's your civil rights workers? Where's your Al Sharptons? Where's your Jesse Jacksons? Where are they when this happens? They ain't saying nothing then. When it's actually things that they do. All people of color. But yet you got individuals out of the community that's discriminating against other individuals or people of color. Like I said, look what happened out there in L.A. and with the big council, and when she said on that one councilwoman said on about the different groups of people, and she probably had a history of doing that, but she kept it undercover. See, America know how to pick up its racism. Maybe in other parts of the world, it's kind of mediocre, and it's based on your character in certain places. But in America, it's about your color, and it's about association. And even though with all the different nationalities of people here, black Americans who fought and died on American shores still can't get no respect. Who get educated in the college institution still can't get no respect. That's a shame. Just because they see something on TV and say we don't want to be around those people because, like I said, the media hypes it up, and so it gives these people, other groups of people, not want to be around us in America. They learn racism, prejudice and biases is learned, and it's passed from generation to generation. See, it's like Simon says. Simon says, I'm okay. You can come into my business. You got the money. You got good credit. But even if you got a certain color, I see you, but I'll take you, but I don't want to see you. And I don't have to respect you. Black America has been shown this in their face. And there have been individuals in the black community saying, why don't you spend with your own first? Reinvent your own first. But some of us have to seek validation from people in this country that see the black male or female as a threat. Black children as a threat. And I can understand why there's predominantly black institutions and should be predominantly middle class black neighborhoods, because hey, other people are doing it and they don't really want to interact, and they want to have their own and have their own language, to have their own culture, and other people are already doing it. As they come and grow droves of different cities by the numbers, they're able to set up a community. Other ethnic groups of people. That's a fact. I'm not being racist. It's the truth. When I made a video about it, when I point out the different groups in this country that have their own, even in Columbus, and it's a small segment, but there's a Middle Eastern and East Indian population in different parts of Columbus. They got your, people from different parts of Africa in Northeast Columbus. Then they got sent around in different areas that they get situated, and that was designed. But they're not going to be in your lily white areas that have money. Like here, it would be like Powell, up Arlington. There's something, and that's when you see some of them, you probably see your East Indians, your Pakistanians, because there's some of them have professional jobs. But these other folks, you see a few around there, but not that many, and it's still predominantly white neighborhoods. You might see but it's the truth. And it's designed that way. And just like any other city in America, it's designed the same way. And I made a statement one time. I said, black people, if you ever get your reparations, maybe some of you gonna have to leave because of that. I was serious, and I see why I said that. you know, like some have to go because you're never gonna be equally here. You never be treated like a human being here. You always feel like you gotta be subjugated to being a figure of a toy of a object to be amused. And the only time as black people we human when we human among each other. Because some of these other individuals in these groups, they don't even see you as a human being. The way they display that. And then they taught to even come over here. To look to some people taught that. And that's why you get the hostility. And that's why I admire the black folks to get out this country and you go someplace where people are not like that. But when you come on the shores of America, you're taught racism. You're taught bias. You're taught, even though we have 50,000, could have 50,000 ethnic and or religion, everybody has their own team. And that's the reality of it. And I always say this, people don't say it, they display it. And even though you could be a God-fearing, God told me that all people is equal as an individual, that's good. But when you go in certain areas, they're gonna show you. Just like certain people are like that. No matter what you do, you try to be friendly and nice, and maybe once in a while somebody be friendly and nice, but they're gonna be standoffish because they've been programmed. News have programmed, the media. That's why it take people to come in and say, stay away from those people. Like people, I'm telling you, this is what it is. Stay away from those people. I've heard testimony about it. And we all that we got as black men and black women, black child, and black, I heard what black people say, we all that we got because, like John Henry Clark said, we have no friends. We have no friends, and they use you when you get to politics. That because you get shine, and you have to have a whole bunch of people who are Caucasian to say that he's a safe black. To let other nations know. That's a fact. Because you and that's the truth and that's how it is when you probably out there in the suburbs. Otherwise, when you go by yourself, you get a whole different reaction. They don't say it to you, they display it to you. And it would be nice not to dwell on stuff like that. It'd be nice to have a positive outlook. And when it comes to racism, bias, I think you should take a break from it and get your passport and go overseas and feel like a human being where you don't feel that. But America ingrains that into people. Yeah, we have our freedom, but and no matter what you do and do the right thing and tax-paying citizens, they're tax-paying citizens that made an honest living, and they still can get the same thing as a person who is white, a counterpart. Ain't that something? The young woman and young man went to college, went to school, probably got a business, make good money, and he's still finding unequal. But when you bring this up, you're crying race. So you have to bring it. Someone have to bring it to the light, like Dr. Phil, and show the evidence. This stuff is still going on at a higher level. And that's why I say no matter how far you go, you're a black person, listen to this, you still got to go to a different level of racism. That's the prime example. It could be on your job. It could be where you trying to get a place where you live. In the court system, in the medical system, you still, when you black, in this country, they still, even though we got black people, black mayors, it don't mean nothing. They use you as a pawn for agenda. To keep the other people saying, now see, we're really equal. But to the 99% of other black people, they're not. They just want to choose it. It's like the same thing that goes back to this plantation. The slave owner always have one of his servants to watch over all the slaves. America still carries that spirit. That they'll take one black person because who they pick, who they like. But when that black person kind of get woken up and saying, maybe we should have balance. You're getting a little bit out of line. It's funny how the past repeats itself, but they tell you to get over the past, but you see the remnants of it from the past. Because when you look at those slave movies, what do you see? And you see the white owner, and you see the head, what they call the taskmaster, the head black slave, and they got to watch over all the slaves. But to treat them, let them know, report back what's going on. Same spirit to this day. Races, that kind of stuff, it transforms. And it be some black people will say, no, I think it's a watch. So I believe until Jesus Christ crack those skies, that's the only way we're gonna get equality in this country and other places in the world that go on this model. Because the totem pole is like this. And when it comes to America, who do you see on TV that they try to put all the crime on, put all the statistics on, of dying at a greater rate? Black and Latino, right? So they bombard you with this. They bombard you with this. So other races of people are watching this. And so when they see Black and Latino, they you can look at it in their face. So with some of them, some people can be shy, and some people might not really know. Maybe they don't really know the language, but some people, they know. They know to stay away from you. But as a people, we just want to be loved and accepted. I learned that not everybody gonna love and accept you. Even when they come in this country, just like some people could be around you that look like you, and some that don't. But when you keep going up in there trying to, when they show you they behind, they telling you what they're really saying. But they do it with a smile, and they do it uncomfortable, smiling uncomfortable. Like, this is unusual. We don't usually get these kind of people in here. And people, there's some fake people out there. But I'm glad God is exposing this. It needs to be exposed on national TV. So I hope you enjoy this video. Share it with somebody. And it's still going on. We in 2022. We're still going through the same stuff. Same thing. And black, and as a black American, I would love to see us get over the past. I would love to see going, but how is it that when someone who's perpetuating it, showing you that in ways of what you saw is in the past, and then some people pick up the ways of colorism against the people. And my motto is, if they're gonna treat you like that, you don't have to jump on them and curse them out. Stop supporting them. and start loving your own. Stop advocating, fighting for everybody. Fight for your own. When black people fight for everybody else, equality, we'll ride up against each other. But when you in a situation, they show their ass to you. When you go ask, hey, can you help lift me up? Can I help you lift me up? We don't know you. That's why you should support you. As black people, as black Americans, we don't have no friends. Allies can only go so long. And will they be happy when you get your just due? You got people trying to fight not only, they're trying to fight your reparations that you waited almost 500 years for. 500 years, from generation after generation after generation. Black people got their property stolen from them. There are black people that they've been traumatized from the Klan and from local government, and still bury the trauma until this day. And they just say, oh, your trauma don't matter. Oh, your ancestor trauma don't matter. We're gonna still, you still psychologically you're a threat to us, because the long as the TV keep programming it, that's how they always gonna see it. So that's why they reflect it when it comes to housing and other things. That's the truth. And people like Miss Lynn, that's what it was. But she's supposed to be up on the banner of people of color. It's black people that suffers the worst. Because right now, the Asian community passed the hate crime bill. Plus, Biden gave the Asian community, which is probably mostly Chinese, Korean, and Japanese, millions of dollars for their business. The LGBTQ community got it. White women got it. That's on your Democrat. And illegal immigrants are getting plush places to live. Why? Probably majority black and probably 20-30% white, and others get kicked out in the street up in New York and about to get thrown up into instant prisons and jails until a black mayor and do that, because they don't have housing. So there must be something. We got to do something with these people. This is happening in New York right now, but when they dropped off, all them different people come from different parts who crossed into America illegally. The administration, a certain demographic, allowed this to happen, and there are American citizens, and there are white citizens too. But it was going to be mostly black, but intended for black, to put them into the cages. If they're slaughtering, this go back to the same slave code. So Eric Adams, who's a black American man, they used to do this in the South. When slaves would come up from the South, if they didn't have a job, you can arrest them and throw them in prison. They're about to do this to the homeless people. Again, this is supposed to be liberal New York. Look it up. In fact, Phil Gavascio covered it. It must be a black, and that's what they use a black mayor, a black person for their cause. And there's some people that even that is your skin is because they look the same, ain't your kinfolk. Everybody's your skin, ain't your kin. But they treat some people who broke the law illegally coming over the border. and one party don't want to respect another political party. Stop that. They open up. They got in computer games and putting up a nice plush hotels and things like that. Meanwhile, you have American citizens that lost their income due to COVID, got evicted. It is triple the probably homeless people out on the streets of America in these liberal Democrat cities. That's one of the reasons why. Why would you want to vote for someone that's so leftist that they don't even give a damn about their own Americans? But they play the part, and then they try to stop to you, and they trying to slow down your extinction because they're not gonna put on the immigrants to abort their babies. They're gonna put on the Americans to abort their babies, and the first Americans they start with, black people, poor black people. Then we cut down it. Then we go to the brown people, then to the red people, then the poor white people. Democrat Party. That's who you voted for. But the immigrants, they ain't gonna do that shit. They ain't gonna get no abortion. They ain't gonna put that on. They ain't gonna put that on the immigrant, because they got groups to fight them. They'll fight them more than they do for us. That's the truth. Look what they did. It's Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. That's what they did. There's lack of housing in New York. There are New Yorkers up there. They're homeless because of sky high prices. And if you see somebody look homeless, look kind of off, throw them. The officers lock them up and throw them up. It's a black mayor doing this. Check this guy called Philly Advice Show. He talks about it. I think he's on his podcast. New Yorkers who are American citizens who lost it because it's COVID, lost their jobs, got evicted because they can't pay their rent. So they out there in the streets homeless. It's not just people with drugs and mental problems. There are people that literally are homeless because of that. So sometimes you wonder what you're patriotic for when your own country do their own citizens that way. What country does that? Proud to be. Sometimes you feel. Sometimes you don't feel like you're being proud to be American when you hear about stuff like that. And when you didn't and it's something with no fault of your own. You lose your job, it's no fault of your own. You get sick, it's no fault of your own. But you're being punished for it. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to get off. Sorry to make this video long, but hey, it's the truth. We're in 2022, going into 2023. It's not going to stop until Jesus comes back, unfortunately. So if you guys have a good one, stay blessed, stay positive, and don't worry, black people. You listen. We're going to get some justice. And when we do, build with your own. Stick with your own. Stay with your own. Because it's all about the races and the resources. That's a fact. Because that's what they're telling us. We have no allies.